have. You know, again, no stifles might actually be an advantage in this matchup.
Possibly, though that is another answer of sorts to Stoneforge.
Yeah,
Mystic.
that's true.
Jared also with True Name Nemesis in his list, which is all sorts of problems for Rogue Delver if that gets into play.
We have seen that in the past, that's for sure.
Kale with his own copy in the main deck.
These players are going to get the green light here in just a moment. We're going to be underway. Jared Boettcher is our number 2 overall seed, so he gets to start things off. It'll be with Tundra and just a passing of the turn. Now, one thing to keep in mind here that Kale, the Rug Delver deck, doesn't have Stifle, but Jared, the Blue-White-Red Delver deck, does.
Yeah, an odd flipping of the script here.
This will be a daze after floating a mana. So, Boettcher will take care of that Delver Secrets, and Thompson will pass the turn back. Boettcher draws a card. It's a copy of Spell Pierce. We'll play that Tundra again, kick it back over to Thompson. Thompson's going to draw now. He picks up a copy of a Ponder. He also has a Wasteland in his hand.
But he has to respect the possibility of Stifle out of Jared's deck.
Yes, he does. There's a Wasteland. Going to fire this off right now. See if Jared has the Stifle. He does not, so in your face. Looks like Jared added a mana. We'll go to the attack step, pass through, mana goes away, and now there's a Ponder from Thompson. So, gonna take a look at a couple of cards here. Will Kale. There's a Wasteland among them.
Get him.
Yeah. This again, huh? Thought you got enough of that in the Rug Mirror a couple hours ago.
You can't get enough of that.
You sure do love a Wasteland. Actually, I like Wasteland a lot too, so.
I don't like Wasteland, but I do like decks that are all about Wastelanding their opponent playing against one another.
Yeah. Boettcher's draw for the turn with the Delver of Secrets. He's just going to play a Polluted Delta before passing the turn back over to Thompson. Thompson will draw a card. He draws that Wasteland that he knew about. He does have a Wooded Foothills here that he can sacrifice if he'd like to. Search up a Tropical Island. We will see if he elects to do that in just a moment. And it looks like that's how he will proceed. Again, he does have access to Boettcher's deck list, and the same can be said for Boettcher with Thompson. Boettcher knows he doesn't have to worry about Stifle. Thompson knows that he does.
So there's going to be a lot of pausing here as this game proceeds here. Kale respecting the possibility of Stifle, Jared wanting to bluff Stifle in certain spots.
It's time for the Goose.
The Goose is loose.
Not just yet. It has to resolve.
It's likely loose.
It's trying to get loose.
It's being unloosened.
That is not even close to a word. I will edit that out of whatever article you submit.
Yeah. But at least it's for creative flourish instead of trying to misrepresent or confuse people.
Get it by me?
Exactly.
Force of Will was the draw. Here's Nared Mesa. Going to sacrifice that Mesa. Boettcher's going to go on a 19. So this is going to resolve here. Let's see what land he wants to search up. That'll be a Tundra.
Interesting to hear that Jared is not sacking both fetch lands to shortcut here.
Feels like this might be a brainstorm to sacrifice the fetch land, move forward.
Yeah.
At least that's what this kind of turn represents if he's not sacrificing both right away. This could also be, I guess I didn't take this in the equation, you know, a Delver, reveal something, and then sacrifice the fetch land and get it away.
Sure.
You can see that as well. So Boettcher will go with the Delver Secrets. That will resolve. Now, the thing here, we kind of mentioned this at the top, Thompson has so much spot removal in this deck where a lot of Rug players don't. You'll often see 4 bolts, and then you'll see maybe 1 Fork Bolt or 1 Chain Lightning, but not 4 bolts and 3 Chain Lightnings.
Yep, makes the deck a little bit more aggressive, makes it easier to always be casting stuff because you can just fire Chain Lightnings and Lightning Bolts at the opponent's head to get to threshold. And a matchup like this helps Kale quite a bit defend himself.
He's going to Wasteland again here. And Boettcher's mana is just getting destroyed here. Back down to 1 land again, and it's only a fetch land. Thompson's staring at that Lightning Bolt still. Does have to be a little bit wary of a card like Spell Pierce.
Yeah, it's a little curious with the sequencing there. He did have the option of just playing the Wasteland first and casting Lightning Bolt. That means that Spell Pierce is off the table for Jared.
There are 5 cards right now in Thompson's graveyard. That Lightning Bolt would be the 6th. Looks like Boettcher's going to say, all right, I'm going to sacrifice the Polluted Delta. I'll go down to 18, and it's time to dig up a land. And we'll see which one he wants to get. Will it be a Volcanic or will it be a Tundra? It will be a Tundra yet again. So maybe Thompson is okay with getting this card Spell Pierce. Who knows?
Yeah, if he has Days in hand, maybe he's trying to set up this sequence, but the operations on the surface are a little bit odd.
Boettcher will cast Spell Pierce. You see his hand, he's got a Jite, Force of Will, another blue card, and a Swords of Plowshares. You can see a Brainstorm over there for Thompson. If he'd like to cast that. Looks like he will cast this in response. See if Boettcher has a response to this. So it looks like Brainstorm's going to resolve, but Thompson's going to draw 3 cards. Let's see what Kale wants to put back here. You see a Delver of Secrets, a Ponder, and Nimble Mongoose is what's been added to the grip. There's also a Delta there hanging out as well.
Also noteworthy that he has True Nemesis in hand too.
That's mighty important. Bolt will get countered by Spell Pierce. Nimble Mongoose, the green light is on. That's a 3-3. Let's get in the red zone here. Looks like Boettcher's going to go down to 15, assuming our count here in the booth is correct, and that is correct. Delver? No, sir.
Although if the draw is a land, that's not shabby for Jared either.
It's a wasteland. He's going to start by casting a Brainstorm, however. So, 3 cards coming here for Boettcher. Delver is 1, Spell Pierce is 2, and a Flooded Strand, probably the most important one, is number 3.
Well, I think Jared's going to want a little bit more information on setting up this Delver of Secrets before he sacrifices, but still very nice that he can get rid of this other Delver of Secrets if he's not feeling so inclined to cast it. But this is tough. You can see Jared has drawn his main deck Umezawa's Jite, which is perhaps a path here. You can get that to play. I mean, Kale does have a fair amount of removal in this deck, but I don't know if he has any more at this juncture.
See what land Boettcher wants to play here after he did put those 2 cards back from the Brainstorm. He's going to go with Wasteland after the Volcanic Island. And now here's an attack from 1.
Gets my seal of approval.
Oh, I had noticed. Polluted Delta is the land that Kale will play. But he can start to deploy some threats now. So here's an attack for 3 yet again. Boettcher's going to go down to 12. See a Tarmogoyf over there. There's a Ponder too.
I mean, he can deploy another copy of Nimble Mongoose, and even Umezawa's Jite may be a little too slow for this game.
Mm-hmm. See a Ponder there? A Tarmogoyf. The True Nemesis. Those are the 3 cards that Thompson's looking at. I like the way he's navigated this game thus far. However, Boettcher is going to cast a Force of Will, removing a Spell Pierce to take care of that Nimble Mongoose. He's a little bit scared of that card, and understandably so.
Yeah, I like it. I feel like he's got to fight here. I mean, the race gets so bad for Jared if that second Nimble Mongoose gets into play.
Both players exhausting their hands here. Thompson looks like he wants to sacrifice the Delta, and he will, so he goes down to 17, and you have to imagine it's going to be a Volcanic Island that he searches out. This means he's going to cast the Ponder that's in his hand.
Yeah, Kale still respects the possibility of Daze being in Jared's hand, so there's some hesitation to cast the Ponder, but I think ultimately his mana's so tight that he just has to do this now.
Yeah. You know, if this gets Daze, that means Tarmogoyf resolves, for example.
Yeah.
Or presumably.
And Jared can't even do anything threatening next turn with 1 mana. He can either cantrip, maybe cast another Delver of Secrets, something like that. So I think there's enough factors here in mitigation of risk that it's worth playing this into a Daze.
This is a Ponder. It's a Spell Pierce, another Ponder, and a copy of Gitaxian Probe. The Probe could be interesting in this situation simply because he could get some information. Not sure if he needs it, though. Boettcher only does have 2 cards in hand. And it looks like Thompson is happy shuffling this away. Maybe he's in search of the 3rd land for the True Name.
I like shuffling away a lot here. He just doesn't have time to untap Ponder again and try to get something going here. He really wants one of his bolts or Chain Lightnings. If he doesn't find it, he's happy to untap and cast Tarmogoyf. So with his mana tied up and looking for specific things, I wouldn't mess around by taking, a Gitaxian Probe and a Ponder and try to play that sort of game.
Boettcher's going to give it a healthy shuffle. And now a mystery card coming here for Thompson in just a moment. And we'll see what Thompson's able to find. And it looks like it may have been a Lightning Bolt, some sort of red card I believe he drew.
And the only red cards in his list, I believe, are Bolts and Chain Lightnings.
Yeah. Swords of Plowshare is going to show up to the party. That's going to flip over the Delver. But this is why Nimble Mongoose is such a premier threat in this deck. An attack for 3 from Boettcher is going to put Thompson down to 14. With that Swords, a lot of circumstances, that'd be very good. But taking care of the Mongoose is something you cannot do. Boettcher's going to go down to 10. He's going to play a Volcanic Island.
It's part of the reason I like Rug Delver of all the Delver decks the most. Nimble Mongoose is an incredible threat for this sort of deck, and there's a lot of decks in Legacy that just can't handle this. I don't know how many times I've seen Rug Delver win some unwinnable games against decks like Lands, for example, because Nimble Mongoose somehow is able to snake through all the Maze of Ith type effects and so forth.
There's a Jite. And what this means here is that Boettcher has one card in his hand as the Swords of Plowshares. Thompson knows that, so he's working on perfect information. And so there is a Chain Lightning. Get that off the table. The attack here for 3 is going to put Boettcher down to 7. And again, this is actually one of the things that I like about Kale's deck is he has all this spot removal. Again, you don't normally see Rug Delver decks with 7 3-damage spells.
Yeah, and it's helping a lot in this matchup, obviously.
Boettcher wanted to get that Jite suited up. Now, Boettcher's draw that turn is very scary. It's a copy of True Name Nemesis. However, Thompson's draw is equally scary. It's a Daze.
That is perfect. I mean, if that True Name Nemesis snuck through, Kale could have lost a game where he had a dominant position, but
Boettcher draws a copy of Batterskull, passes the turn back over to Thompson. Thompson's going to make it real easy. Attack here for 3, puts you down to 1. Now your fetch lands are off, and that's normally the card that you could find to cast your True Name Nemesis, but I've got the answer anyway. Boettcher draws a card's copy of Force of Will. He's chosen True Nemesis, and he's going to concede the game. So Kale Thompson does win game number 1 over Jared Boettcher. Rug Delver up a game over Blue White Red Delver. Now we're going to come back to the booth very quickly because I have the rules.
And I have the question.
See, that's good. We got it figured out that time. Very simply, hashtag SCG Premium is what you're looking for on Twitter. Make sure you do follow at SCG Live. This guy's got your 6-month question, and of course, we'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our semi-final round. And last but certainly not least, all giveaways here with Star City Games Live are on us. Twitch is in no way affiliated with the giveaways that we do here, though we do thank Twitch for letting us broadcast on their website. It's kind of useful.
It is useful.
A touch.
Platinum Pro and Rookie of the Year, Jared Boettcher, won the Standard Open earlier today. He's trying to win the Legacy Open right now. We've seen a couple players come close this year, Ross Miriam in Providence, Tyler Wilkerson in Orlando. But only one player has ever actually done it. Won both Opens in the same weekend. Can you name that player?
Do we want people to use his Twitter handle?
Of course we do.
Yeah, duh.
For extra credit.
Use his Twitter handle.
Blow
him up.
Blow him up. Let him know that we care about him, that we hope he's watching.
If you can name that player, hashtag the answer, the hashtag of SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. And again, we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round. And in case you're wondering, mystery person, we're not sorry about what's about to happen to your Twitter.
Yeah, look
Not
at me.
all.
Look at me. Look at me. I'm not sorry.
Back to the match.
Look me in the eyes.
We're going to go. We'll look at Jared's sideboard first. There's a Sword of Feast and Famine, 2 Grim Lavamancer, 3 Meddling Mage, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Flush Storm, a Pyroblast, 1 Elemental Blast, 1 Swords of Plowshares, 1 Wear and Tear, and 1 Vendilion Click. The easy one here is 2 Rest in Peace.
Yeah, 2 Rest in Peace is great here. Rug Delver leaning very heavily on its graveyard. Nimble Mongoose and Tarmogoyf, the threat base he's leaning on, and Jared can dispatch of Delver of Secrets pretty easily, so that's a nice package to have. I think the Vendilion Click is nice in this matchup, the additional spot removal, Swords of Plowshares, the red blasts, and so forth. So a lot of good action for Jared to bring in.
On the other side of things, Kale's got a bunch of 1s and 2s, actually a couple 3s as well. Grafdigger's Cage, a Pithing Needle, another copy of True Nemesis to go along with the one in his main deck, a Sylvan Library, an Ancient Grudge, 2 Flusterstorm, 3 Pyroblast, 3 Submerge, 1 Forked Bolt, and a Rough and Tumble. What do we like here?
Well, I think the red blasts are reasonable here, the Sylvan Library in a long drawn-out game. Ancient Grudge and Pithy Needle give him some game against the equipment package that Jared's trying to get going, and an additional copy of True Name Nemesis. This is a True Name kind of fight.
It really, really is. And this is actually a matchup where Kale can probably reasonably get to 3 land, where we saw in the Rug Delver mirror a little bit earlier against Matt Hoey. That's just not a thing.
Yeah.
That will not happen.
Though, Jared also with the Stifle package, so.
That's true.
If there any Blue-White-Red Delver build is going to be able to play a mana denial game, it's Jared's build.
Sam Marukas, John Wiley, still in game number 1, it looks like. Bug Delver versus Blue-White Miracles. Again, Blue-White Miracles did win last week in the hands of Shane Ramelt. Joe Lissette also did top 8 last week when we were in Dallas. So Miracles looking like a very, very good deck. Definitely a tier 1 deck in Legacy.
We've seen a resurgence of this deck. I mean, it was off the grid for the better part of a year.
Yep.
Was a very good performer at GP Paris, but pretty dormant on the Open Series, but it is back in a big way.
Yeah, it's not messing around. That much is for sure. So we're going to see what happens here. Again, Jared Boettcher looking to go back to back. And kind of crazy that two players have gotten so close this year.
Yeah.
Ross Merriam a game away. Tyler Wilkerson just 2 matches away. He ended up losing the semifinals in Orlando. Was playing Omnitel there. Lost to a Reanimator deck. And then still kind of blows the mind that Merriam lost that match against Dave Shields. But to Shields' credit, he played... I don't ever like to say people played perfect Magic, but he got darn close.
Yeah, David Shields played a great match there. And a lot of things broke poorly for Ross, too. Drew a lot of natural order targets and mulligan and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's what it takes for Death and Taxes to beat Elves, though.
Yeah, I mean, to get to the elimination rounds of the tournament, I don't care how good you are, you're always going to have to catch your breaks. And sometimes, you have a run like that all day long, and then you catch the bad end of it. But better in the finals than in round 2,
Yeah, for sure. Boettcher and Thompson going to be underway here in just a bit. Again, Boettcher will be on the play. Pretty dominant for game 1 there from Thompson.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
That was definitely impressive. And the bolts and the chains, like you mentioned, definitely influence the way these games play out.
Absolutely. They really, really do.
And I like that it's chain lightning, no fork bolt fanciness.
Yeah, no nonsense, as it were.
Just trying to kill people.
Sam Rokas does win game number 1 here over John Wiley, so Blue White Miracles, the number 1 overall seed, up 1.
Pretty impressive. That's one of my favorite matches to watch after Dallas. I mean, we watched a ton of it, Bug versus Miracles, and there's so much play to the games.
Boettcher looking at open hand. You see a Force of Will. There's a Daze over there. I think his only land right now is a Wasteland, though. I think. There might be a Misty Rainforest, and there is, so I do take it back. And Thompson does mulligan very, very quickly, so down to 6 for Kale.
Yeah, Jared's got a hand that can play.
Well, while we do wait, because tomorrow's the last day, you
Yep.
can sign up for SCG Game Night to have it in September.
And you got to get the ball rolling here. We're going to have our little infographic up here momentarily. But again, August 11th, that's the cutoff date to get signed up for September. We are taking international signups as well. We don't have the image available for you, but it's pins and foils every Wednesday night. We send out new kits every month. Our first piece of artwork is going to be Squirrel there, who's pretty adorable. And you can get more information at starcgames.com/game night every Wednesday night. Tournament can be sanctioned or not sanctioned. Either way is fine, up to the store or tournament organizer's discretion. So if you're looking to get this program up and running in your store, you have until August 11th to get the September kit.
Yep, looking forward to it coming in September. And they are worldwide, as you did mention as well. So it's going to be fun. And we're going to see now, after Kale to take a mulligan, if he can find a hand to keep as he looks at 6 here.
When you're on the draw, Kale going to 5 here, which is really rough. When you're on the draw, you're so much more susceptible to the wasteland stifle elements of these decks. Sometimes you draw hands that are, you only have a tropical or volcanic to function with, or you have to cantrip on the first turn to find a second land or some piece of action, and you don't really have the luxury of playing around those cards in the same way that you do when you're on 7 cards.
I do want you to notice something here that I haven't really noticed before. We've watched Jared play a lot, obviously, over this year. And he's had a lot of success. One heck of a year for him. Normally a pretty jovial, playful guy, pretty laid back when he plays matches, but pretty serious tone to this one. You can tell that he would like to get this one.
Back-to-back means a lot.
Yeah.
And, maybe throwing himself perhaps into the Season 3 mix kind of at the last minute here.
Yeah.
Trying to lock up at the minimum, maybe Season 4.
Yep.
Maybe we're talking about one of the 8 at-large bids. The mixture of the financial incentives here and the prestige, both significant for Jared.
Definitely fun to watch him play. Kale gonna lay out 5. It's gotten pretty tough now for him.
Yeah, especially if Jared has kept in Stifle.
There are no lands there. You see his hand, there's 2 Force of Wills, a Spell Snare. Yep, he's going back to the well again. It's a good thing he won game 1. I guess we can say that. And all you can do is take a deep sigh.
Though, Kale's in a ton of trouble, obviously. But if there's any deck that can function this resource light in all of Legacy, you know, excluding decks like Dredge that are kind of off doing their own thing.
Yep.
It's Rug Delver.
All you need is one land to go.
Yeah. Another incentive to play this deck. I think Mulligan's probably better than any deck in the format.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Just runs so resource light. So redundant on the cantrips. A lot of 1-mana pieces of interaction. 1-mana threats. But I think that Kale will really struggle to win on 4 cards, especially when Jared has a Wasteland in his hand.
Yeah, I think so. Have to get creative with fetch lands if his hand even allows that.
Yeah. And it's hard to get fancy with 4 cards.
Kale gonna take a look at 4. He gives a thumbs up. Boettcher gonna just play Misty Rainforest before passing the turn back. Kale does have quite a few lands in his hand, actually.
Something.
So he can't operate. You see there's Flood Strand. Here's a Wasteland there from Boettcher. Thompson's gonna draw a card. It's a copy of Delver's Secrets.
All right, we got a little something going.
It's certainly better than nothing. His hand could be a lot worse.
Well, for 4 cards.
Oh, there's Delver.
He's put land into play and cast spells. It's not the easiest thing to do against Blue White Red Delver on 4 cards.
Yeah. See, Boettcher's got a Daze in his hand. So the Delver's just going to resolve it, looks like. Boettcher will draw a card. He also has a Force of Will over there. He's going to sacrifice that Misty Rainforest after drawing. Going to go down to 19, so that'll be first blood. We'll see what land he wants to search up. It will be a Tundra. And after shuffling, presenting, we'll see what Jared wants to do on his 3rd turn of the game.
It looked like his hand was really land light there. I don't know if he had a 3rd land going into this turn. And a lot of counter spells as well.
Yeah, it looked like he had a lot of counters.
But Kale, at least for the time being, playing some game.
Here's a Brainstorm from Boettcher. So a couple cards coming. 1 is a Spell Pierce, 2 is Volcanic Island, and 3 is New as SCGNY. So a couple cards are going to go back. Doesn't look like there's a fetch land involved here for Boettcher, however. So we'll be a little Brainstorm locked, but he's pretty far ahead on cards due to Thompson's mulligan, so it shouldn't matter too much. Boettcher just played the Volcanic Island as his land for the turn. You can also see a Meddling Mage in his hand right now before passing the turn back. Thompson going to take a look at the top card. It is not what he's looking for as far as Delver is concerned, but his draw was a Nimble Mongoose.
You can see him pause there briefly, contemplating whether or not he wanted to shuffle away the Nimble Mongoose. Decided to keep it.
And attack for 1 is going to put Boettcher down to 18. And will Thompson deploy the Mongoose? Well, he's certainly going to try. See if Boettcher wants to fight over this one. This is the one that caused him so many headaches in the previous game.
It's tough to use a Force of Will here on a Nimble Mongoose with no cards in the graveyard.
Boettcher is going to draw and play a True Name Nemesis. That is a powerful magic card. This is an attempt at a Daze. That's a Force of Will, removing a Meddling Mage. And Thompson does not have the tools to fight back because, well, he mulliganed 4.
Interesting that Jared has decided to bring in his copies of Meddling Mage. Not a card you would typically associate with being that good in the matchup, especially against an opponent who's, you know, packing Chain Lightnings on top of Lightning Bolts.
Thompson going to flip the Delver, and he is going to draw the Daze. Could have shuffled it away, but now he's going to sacrifice here and here. And if he's sacrificing both lands, he might have a True Name of his own, perhaps?
Yeah, and I think that's why he kept the Daze, because he wants to be able to Daze back on a Daze or Force of Will that Jared may have.
Yeah. This game is way more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, keep in mind, Kale on 4 cards.
Yeah.
And we got a game going.
That's a True Name Nemesis. Huh.
It's interesting stuff here.
Yeah, I am.
Now, Jared has a Jitte in his hand. If he's able to get that situated.
Yeah, if he gets that down, we're
Forget
looking
about
at a
it.
completely different game. I mean, it's basically over. We've seen True Name Nemesis plus Nuzawa Jitte before, but just the amount of fight that Thompson's been able to put up on a mulligan to 4 is really impressive.
Yeah. And Kale does have Ancient Grudge in his sideboard. And a Pithy Needle. So he's not necessarily dead.
Boettcher knows about the Daze. Can't really do anything about it. So I think True Name is just going to resolve.
Yeah, not really worth setting himself back a mana at this point, I feel like.
Yeah.
Against an opponent who has nothing to do with the mana. Because Jared, if he draws a land, he can go Jitte equip and use the daze to fight through a daze. I don't think there's a lot to be gained here by dazing.
He's going to give it a long thought, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated play, don't get me wrong, but I think it looks like Jared's just letting it go here, and I think that's the correct line.
Yeah, he's not thrilled about it resolving, but it is in play. Delver's going to come across for 3 in the air. Boettcher's going to go down 14. Boettcher will draw a card. We'll see if it's a 4th land. It's another copy of True Nemesis. Okay, but that could be dazed, and then we could daze back. So the back and forth of this game does continue.
That's one of those things where, you let's say you put the True Name into play. It's like, okay, that's good, but you're getting untapped and attacked for 6. And then if Kale finds some way to answer your Jitte, or you just don't draw the 4th land in time, things can get pretty harrowing. I mean, look at Jared's hand. It's all reactive. This game has gotten awfully tough for Jared, in spite of having all of these tools.
There's a second True Name. He's going to daze this one. He's going to daze back. All right. Now there is a Volcanic. Here's an attack for 3. Thompson going to go down to 15, but the race is on.
Yeah, I mean, Kale's generating 6 points of uncontested damage here.
Yeah, and the race is on for Boettcher to actually find a way to get that Jitte into play. If he does that, he's going to win. I'm almost certain. Didn't get a
Oh
great
my God, that's a spell snare.
Ew.
I mean, we got a game.
This is an attack for 6. He's got to play that land.
Oh, no.
No.
Now he's sensible. I understand why he didn't play the land. He doesn't want his tropical to get wasteland. It cuts him out of green.
Yep.
But now the spell pierce
The
is
spell
going to get
pierce is
him.
on now, yes. You have to play around so many different things. So the fact that he drew a spell snare was completely insane. But the spell pierce is going to blow this up.
But keep in mind, there's nothing preventing, Jared can't stop the 6 damage next turn. If Kale finds a lightning bolt or a chain lightning, he's winning on this 4-card hand.
Jared deciding if he wants to pierce or flush storm. He's going to go with pierce. He wins that war. This is an attack for 3. You can't attack with both, obviously.
Yep.
So Thompson goes down to 12, and you said it. If he draws a bolt or a chain,
And he's not even out of the woods if he gets to attack next turn.
what's the draw?
Oh, it's a red blast.
Okay. That's not what he's looking for. And shrug his shoulders, attack again.
Yep.
Put you down to 2. You're right, he's not out of it. Oh, man.
Because, I mean, he either kills Insectile Aberration or gains 4, and neither saves him.
He does have Swords of Plowshares in his hand. He can kill his own True Nemesis. As long as he... Oh, what's this? Swords that.
Now the race becomes favorable for him. Now he's gaining 4 against...
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Gaining 4 against 3.
Yep. So here's this.
But keep in mind, even if he gains 4 here, Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning still
does
lethal
it.
on the way back.
Yeah. He's going to gain 2 life right now and go up to 4. He's been having to dodge draws. I can't believe this is actually
Yeah,
happening.
this is so close.
Let's see what Thompson draws for the turn. Another Pyro Blast.
Oh.
They've been red cards every time. Here's an attack for 3. Boettcher's going to go down to 1. And these red cards are teasing Kale. They're the wrong red cards to draw right now.
Yeah,
Another
now,
Swords drawn.
now I think Jared may have it turned around here. I mean, now the Jitte counters, if he connects 1, brings him up to 7. The True Name on the way back for Kale knocks Jared down to 4.
Yep,
that's
not
outside
range.
of bolt range. Jared also now has Swords of Plowshares available. He can plow his own True Name Nemesis.
Yep.
Now, it is still possible that if Kale draws something like Pithing Needle or Ancient Grudge, he may be able to get the race swung around, but he's running out of time.
Yeah. Gonna gain life right now. Up to 3. Up to 5. Up to 7.
Yeah, Jared's not leaving anything to chance here.
Passes the turn back. Thompson gonna draw a card. Nah.
Oh, come
my
on.
Goodness.
Come on. You got to be
Chain lightning.
You got to be kidding
An
me.
actual turn too late. So now he's going to come across. He puts him to 4. I think. You think you play land and chain him now?
Well, I don't know if he would. I guess he can play the land and chain Jared down.
Attack.
So he's still theoretically drawing live. I mean, another bolt.
The problem here, I think, is the Flusterstorm.
And the plow. Jared has some insurance in his hand at this point.
Let's see what he drew. Delver. That doesn't help at all.
Yeah, now Kale's at 6, and 2 true names are coming across.
And he's going to pack it up.
Wow.
Jeez, what a game. What an insane game.
And again, that's a 4-card hand Kale had.
That was an insane game.
That was incredible.
We enter my seat here every draw step.
Well, Kale's on the play now, and they get to keep a 7-card hand.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Jesus.
Great stuff. That was really good.
My first time watching Kale Thompson play, he is he knows his way around a Rug Delver deck.
Yeah, this is the first time that we've seen this weekend in the elimination round where someone's pushing back against Jared.
Yeah,
I mean,
finally. Finally.
He lost a game to the white weenie player.
Yep.
But the games he won were pretty straightforward there. Didn't really get tested in the semifinals or the finals. But this is, lost game 1, was on the cusp of losing game 2 to a 4-card hand. And now Kale going to be on the play.
The thing about that game, too, is he held the Tropical Island and got his spell pierce. It makes perfect sense on why he held the Trop.
Yeah, you're playing around. You have the option of playing around the spell pierce that may or may not be in Jared's hand, or the Wasteland on the table.
Yeah, that is directly in play.
So, there's not much of a choice there.
Quick update for you guys from the other match. John Wiley playing Bug. Delver has tied it up against Sam Ruckus playing Blue White Miracles. So those guys are headed to a 3rd game. If we've got time to join that one, we will do that. But we're not going anywhere away from this match between Boettcher and Thompson.
Yeah.
Man, what a game that was.
Yep. And there's so much room there. I mean, there's so many spots for Kale to potentially play a land, or maybe not, depending on what he's trying to play around. But he did get snapped off by that spell pierce there.
Yeah, that's so tough. If you're supposed to play a land there or not, you open yourself up to getting Wasteland, you'd lose your green source. But I think his play was correct in holding the land.
Another interesting thing that Jared engineered there was playing the 2nd True Name Nemesis in a spot where his hand is Flusterstorm Spell Pierce, knowing that Kale's going to daze on the way back, which allows him to play a land untapped for the turn, which is also significant.
Yep, definitely true.
Now, I think it's a huge mistake, but if Kale just says, okay, that resolves, now the shields are effectively down. It's just daze against daze. So Kale's potentially drawing quite live there. Watching these Delver decks in action, like I said earlier, there's a lot of maneuvering that goes on. Even if at the end of the day, the game ends with player has no lands in play, or players getting killed by True Name Nemesis plus equipment, the ends of the games generally look pretty lopsided. There's so much going on before you get to that point.
And there's so many things to think about. There's so much setup. I mean, even coming, what I love about Legacy is, in that particular kind of matchup, be it Rug Mirrors or this, your first land matters.
Yeah.
The actual first thing that you do, which is your first land, matters.
The first couple of turns, the cards you play around and the way that you want to, maneuver your land drops, your spell sequencing, getting threats into play, it's winning or losing. And it's no surprise that the best Delver players consistently find themselves in the top 8 because there's just so much going on in these games.
Yeah. So game 3 here between Boettcher and Thompson. Thompson's going to be on the play again. Don't forget, he mulliganed to 4 that game. So we're going to see if he can keep 7 or more than 4. He is allowed a mulligan after all. This deck does a pretty gosh darn good job of that.
Oh, well, that was quite the clinic there.
Yeah.
He mulliganed to 4, nearly won with 2 dead Pyroblasts in his hand at the end of the game. It's incredible.
That too.
Yeah, just awesome stuff. And for Jared, so much on the line here.
Yeah, players who had a fantastic season, a fantastic year on both circuits. One of the few things he hasn't achieved, that only one person has achieved, is going back to back.
And I suspect he is watching. He has mentioned that when it's in play, he tunes in. People let him know, of course, and then he's tuning in.
It's a spidey sense.
Yeah,
He knows.
the record's in danger.
Yeah, he knows. Who is coming for my trophy? No one can have it but me, says Jerry Thompson. We'll see, though. People have tried this year.
Oh, that's 2 lands.
Yeah, yes. Snap it off. Gotta keep. Boettcher looking at a hand here. He's got a couple copies of Stoneforge Mystic, and now it's his turn to mulligan. So Thompson's going to keep his hand. Boettcher is going to continue shuffling. While he does that, we will talk about our double open series weekend, Mr. Sullivan. And sure, why don't we go back to New Jersey again?
This is exciting stuff. This was originally slated to be in Indianapolis. Syracuse said, well, why not try doing 2 opens in one weekend?
Well, Pat, we want to keep you for another year, so here's another open for
Here's
you.
our 8th show in New Jersey this year, whatever my requirements are to be happy.
0 in Cleveland this year, by the way.
So
0 in Cleveland.
The coverage has been moved from Indianapolis to New Jersey. Myself, Matthias Hunt, will be covering that event, but the Open will still be happening in Indianapolis. So we're going to have a double Open Series weekend. Indianapolis is still going to have all the events you expect: Standard Open, Legacy Open, Modern IQ, side events, the works. But the coverage will be in New Jersey that weekend.
Yeah, and that'll be a lot of fun for you. Being in Jersey again. In Cleveland, I'm sure Josh Gordon will be taken away in handcuffs. LeBron will leave again, and the city will burn to the ground.
Yep. The lake will catch on fire.
Yep.
The fire will spread.
It'll be great, since we get nothing ever. It's never fair. We never get anything.
Listen, New Jersey's events are always so well attended.
We never go to Cleveland. We have no idea if we could have a good attendance. We never go. It's been a rough life for Clevelanders recently because we get nothing.
You gotta, NBA, someone's gonna block the Kevin Love trade.
Yeah, we get nothing ever. Bet you're looking at 6 cards here.
But we all get what we deserve.
I don't know what you're implying with that statement, but I know I don't like it.
You can probably figure it out.
Here is a Ponder off a tropical island. This Ponder is going to resolve. So we're looking at Spell Snare, a Force of Will, and I believe a Nimble Mongoose.
Now, I believe that Kale's hand is without red mana or access to it right now. It's a functional hand, but it's 2 tropical islands. So he now gets to decide, does he keep this pretty solid Ponder here, or does he dig furiously looking for red mana?
Boettcher with a Flooded Strand. He's going to kick it back over to Thompson. Thompson will draw. He draws his copy of Force of Will. There is that second drop you spoke of. And now that is a Nimble Mongoose. And that is a problem for Jared Boettcher. And it will resolve. A daze is the draw here for Boettcher.
And I think that daze is huge here because there is a Force of Will available for Kale, possibly Spell Snare. So getting to fight over the Stoneforge Mystic a little bit more efficiently is a big deal. But we shall see how Jared wants to proceed. But Stoneforge, so powerful, Jared, in this matchup. Especially against an opponent without red mana, not threatening the ability to Ancient Grudge or Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning away the Stoneforge Mystic.
Hunter off the Strand. And there is the Mystic. That's a force. I'm gonna remove a Spell Pierce. So bye-bye Mystic. I'm getting closer and closer to the Mongoose. 2 cards now. Thompson will draw. Picks up a copy of Spell Snare. He's going to start his turn by brainstorming. So 1, 2, and 3, and the Delta's the biggest of the bunch.
Yeah, he's now unlocked his red mana.
Ponder and Forkbolt are the other, excuse me, I think it was Ponder and Forkbolt. Yeah, the other cards that he found. He had the Pyroblast to begin the game with, so he's going to put some cards back here. But now that he has necessary red mana. Now, of course, he has to kind of play with it a little bit carefully, right? If he sacrifices now, he opens his red mana up to Wasteland. But if he leaves a Delta, he opens himself up to Stifle, assuming it's still in Boettcher's deck after sideboard. So things get a little bit interesting there.
Yeah, for sure. And he also has to decide what he wants to play around here. I mean, he can keep the Forkbolt as extra insurance against Stoneforge Mystic. He can keep the Pyroblast to fight over a potential True Name Nemesis. a lot of different things that Kale can decide to play around and give himself insurance against.
Yeah, it's a really tough brainstorm there. There's a blue to Delta. This is an attempt again at a Stoneforge Mystic. Let's see if this resolves. You see the Spell Snare.
I imagine this will target Stoneforge Mystic.
Probably a good choice.
You can see Jared with the days in hand.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I just assumed that Kale put the Spell Snare in his hand last turn. Kept it on top and now got to tag the Stoneforge Mystic.
Gonna sacrifice the Delta. Gonna go get himself, of course, a Volcanic Island. Now, he may only get one shot at this, so he's got to make it count since there's a Wasteland in play and a Wasteland in Boettcher's hand.
Yeah, and Jared's hand right now, you know, he has the Wasteland in play, another land that he can play, and the ability to cast True Name Nemesis. So things could unravel very quickly for Kale here in spite of his very good start.
So Kale able to make it a very good brainstorm here. He does have a Sylvan Library in his hand that he can play next turn. He also has a Pyroblast as well. So we'll see what he wants to do as far as moving forward is concerned. He will untap these lands. No Mongoose is working its way towards Threshold. He draws a card. It's a copy of Polluted Delta. Drawing a fourth land there may seem like it stinks, but it's actually quite good because that's another red source of mana.
Yeah, he can't be cut off of red now, which means that his Pyroblast on a potential True Name Nemesis next turn is good to go.
He will deploy that, and now he will deploy this. A Sylvan Library may look innocuous, but it's a very important card in this matchup. Boettcher is going to sacrifice his Polluted Delta. Going to go down to 17 to do so. You see there's a Brainstorm in his hand. We'll see what land he wants to go get. It's going to be a Volcanic.
Though committing the Sylvan Library is a big cost for Clay. I mean, he can get Wastelanded here, and then Jared has Days plus True Name Nemesis. So even though I'm sure Kale feels relatively secure deploying this Sylvan Library, I think Jared may have the tools to punish him for it.
That's a Brainstorm. Thompson says very quickly, that's fine. So hit 1, 2, 3 Days, Swords, and another copy of Brainstorm. So now it's time for Boettcher to put a couple cards away. Even though these opening turns have been pretty good for Thompson and Boettcher did mulligan, Boettcher is certainly fighting back here.
Yeah.
Brainstorm will resolve. Will we have any fighting here? Looks like the answer is no. So, in comes the library. Thompson looking at just a Pyroblast in his hand. And will he sacrifice this now or wait? It looks like he's going to wait. He'll start by attacking for 1. Only 5 cards in the graveyard, so that wouldn't give him Threshold. He's a little bit fearful of Stifle, but he does pass the turn back over to Boettcher. Boettcher will draw a card. It's a copy of Wasteland. He will Wasteland the red source. Kale's going to float a mana. There's a True Name Nemesis. We will sacrifice this. You have to imagine this is in the second main phase.
Yeah. And if Kale is picking up his deck and fetching right now, if you're Jared, you got to be stoked because something's coming.
Yep. That means your Days is good to go. I imagine there's a Pyroblast.
And this is off of Jared's mulligan too.
Yeah.
And this game has all the makings of a runaway.
It's time for a Days. It's a good one. Jared deciding what land he wants to pick up. He already played a land for the turn with the Wasteland, so he hasn't decided if it's going to be a Tundra or if it will be a Volcanic Island. And it's going to be the Tundra. Now Boettcher has to pass the turn back, but he's in a good spot right now. However, Thompson gets to look at a couple of cards here with the library, so we'll see what he can find. A Wasteland, a Ponder, and a Wooded Foothills is what Kale is looking at. Now, we watched him a little bit earlier. He did not use his Sylvan Library very aggressively. He does cast Ponder here. We'll see if he wants to now. He's going to look at 2 cards that he already knows. The third one is another copy of Wasteland. It's going to be a quick shuffle.
Yeah, I think in that spot I would have probably taken at least Ponder Wasteland.
At least take 4.
Yeah, because I mean, I understand that the game's kind of a damage race. You can't interact with True Name Nemesis at this point, but there's a really good chance that you're just going to want to Ponder here. You get a card deeper, and if you find nothing to do, you can still Wasteland the Volcanic. or the Wasteland, whichever. Kale was very conservative with the library, as you mentioned, in the previous match that we watched. And it felt like he was a little too conservative for my liking, at least, in this spot.
Mystery card did not get a great look at. I believe it wasn't land, and all you can do is pass the turn back, as of course the Mongoose can attack into that Merfolk, as Boettcher will draw cards, copy Source Plowshares. That one's blank now, but you have to imagine it's going to get better to later. It also can be shuffled back with Brainstorm. Boettcher going to cast that. It's a Spell Pierce, a Ponder, and a Force of Will. So 2 cards are going to go back here for Jared. Going to put a Spell Pierce on top.
Now it's just how does Jared, he has a very solid grasp on the game right now, but it is possible for him to get overwhelmed from this spot.
Yeah.
He finds a second copy of True Name Nemesis. He'll probably be locked up at that point.
Yeah, life gets real easy then. Now it's time to activate the library again. Bolt, a Delta, I believe a blue card, even though I didn't get a great look.
This is another spot where I'm taking, I guess if Kale has another fetch land that he's drawn, maybe you just take Brainstorm, but I want to take Brainstorm plus fetch land.
He's only going to take 1 card again, just not comfortable aggressively using his Sylvan Library.
Like, Kale's got to find stuff to do. The current pacing of this game does not shape up very well for him. I know it's risky to be paying life against a True Name Nemesis because Jared may just start attacking, but he's going to find something eventually. He doesn't need much to tip this over.
Yeah, the texture of the game right now favors Boettcher. Like, if we keep doing this, I think it just favors Jared.
Eventually, Jared finds a second spell that matters, and the game's over.
Yeah.
So you got to get a move on.
Paying 4 life is a extremely high cost, but I'm in agreement with you as far as the options here. I think he does have to start using that Sylvan Library a little bit more aggressively again, even though it is dangerous.
And I respect the fact that it's even a higher cost to pay against a True Name Nemesis because Jared can easily switch gears here. But what's the plan?
The plan to begin is to shuffle and resolve that Flooded Strand and get a Volcanic Island. Spell Pierce is the draw here for Boettcher. This is a Ponder. So Jared knows his top card. We'll see the next couple. Another Ponder and a Volcanic Island. None of those are all that exciting. Wouldn't be surprised to see a shuffle, and there exactly will.
Yeah, you can take a Ponder there and run it back in case there's the third card down is significant, but makes sense just to shuffle.
Mystery card coming. There's a Tundra as the mystery card. Lands aren't the worst thing for Boettcher to find here. Now another library activation. Ponder, Bolt, Daze. Quick update. The winner of this match is playing against #1 overall seed Sam Ruckett's Blue White Miracles on to the finals.
Another matchup for Jared that I don't like.
Yeah,
but
well, it doesn't matter what you like anymore.
Bad matchup. It's the first time Jared's also going to be on the draw in the elimination rounds. He was the first seed.
Yep.
Assuming that Jared wins here. No guarantee.
I don't like the matchup for either player, honestly. I don't like it for Rugg either. There's Ponder. So you're going to take a look at a couple cards here. He's going to shuffle away. It's a mystery card coming.
It's tough to see Kale winning this game. It has to involve either multiple Tarmogoyfs or an unchecked Delver. Perhaps his own True Name Nemesis.
Yeah, I was going to say his own True Name can get the job done. I don't think it's resolving at this point, though. Boettcher's ready for it with the Force of Will. I mean, the first relevant spell that Kale plays will get countered by Boettcher.
Well, there is a True Name Nemesis.
Well, let the fun begin. Another Tundra drawn here for Boettcher. Gonna play that, pass the turn back. It's a staring contest right now. Thompson gonna take a look at a couple of cards. Lightning Bolt seems to always be in there. I believe there's a Delver of Secrets in there as well.
Delver Wasteland is not shabby here either. I mean,
I've seen worse.
He can cut Jared off of. He can cut Jared off of red. Cast a Delver.
There's Delver, presenting a threat. Boettcher draws. It's copy of Force of Will. You have to imagine he's going to play the 5th land now, yep. Reason for that, of course, is you can hard cast Force of Will now. Going to check with Delver. Lightning Bolt will allow this to flip.
Now there's some, now there's some pressure. Jared can't kill this.
I believe he has the swords in his hand.
I thought his hand was just blue cards.
Well, we're going to find out after
Yeah,
the
we will
attacks,
find out.
So, yeah, won't take long. See the hand there, Brainstorm, Lightning Bolt, and a Wasteland. This is what Kale is looking at here from the Sylvan Library.
Because you would presume if he had a removal spell, he would use it in the upkeep here. No reason to let Kale, Sylvan Library maybe find an answer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and actually, there isn't a rule spell here, it looks like. There's another copy of Daze. All right. All Boettcher can do is pass the turn back. Now, to be fair, Boettcher had the option to Force Will this Delver. He chose not to.
Yeah.
Now, he does have a lot of answers, of course. He has Blast and Bolts and Swords to get the thing off the table, but he's going to take 3 more now. So down to 10 he goes. That Bolt in the hand is virtual 7, even though, again, Boettcher does have Force of Wills in his hand. So Thompson just passed the turn back. Boettcher draws a card. It's another copy of Force of Will. Pass the turn back again. Thompson going to activate this library. Take a look at a couple of cards. Nimble Mongoose among them. It looks like that's the one he has interest in drawing. So he adds this to his hand.
Yeah, Nimble Mongoose, if it resolves, is another, essentially 3 points of damage, as he can send in both Nimble Mongooses into the True Name Nemesis.
So here's this. This probably gets a hard cast Force of Will.
It's got to be something. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't take it with you,
No, this is really interesting. He's going to alternate cast this and go down to 6, which shaves an entire turn off the clock. Boettcher draws a Red Elemental Blast.
Okay. Still with it. This has gotten real close. That felt like basically the last turn for this to happen. I know he could have fended off the bolt, but with nothing proactive going on.
Gonna go with a Wasteland after that Volcanic Island. Gonna float a little bit of mana here. Now it's time for a Red Blast, it looks like. Yes, sir. Fire away. Thompson looking at a Brainstorm, among other things. Looks like he's going to cast one of these now, see if he can find something.
Yeah, with another Brainstorm in hand and Sylvan Library in play, you might as well at least give it a look.
2. The third card's a mystery. It's a copy of Daze. Can't imagine that's what he's looking for.
But the 4th bolt is getting Jared into range.
He's got a Lightning Bolt over there, too. Couple cards go back. Delver goes away. But Boettcher took a couple of shots off of that.
And now with the life total advantage firmly in Kale's edge here, I think that now there's really no reason not to get a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, I still like taking Wasteland Delver in the spot. You cut Jared off of red. You can leave a spell on top for your Delver to flip next turn.
Just takes the Delver. Gonna deploy it off a Trop. Will Boettcher counter this?
I mean, if he counters it and can't protect himself any further, then the burn spells that Kale has accumulated will be lethal.
Force of Will down to 5. Pass the turn back. Boettcher draws that. I did not get a great look at.
Believe it was just a land.
Passes the turn back over to Thompson. Thompson going to activate the library again. You see a Wasteland. You see a Tarmogoyf. And there's also a forked bolt there. Gonna deploy a Tarmogoyf now. We'll Boettcher battle over this.
Well, it's the Tarmogoyf essentially represents a lightning bolt in this spot because next turn, Kale can untap and attack with both creatures. Now, the other side of this is that Jared has the ability to draw a removal spell, in which case an Alpha Strike is disastrous as Kale loses both of his creatures.
Yep.
So the greediest play is let this resolve and hope. This is a more conservative line of play, which is totally justifiable. I mean, it's really risky to let that Tarmogoyf into play.
So that's going to be a 4-5, I believe, but decides nope, countering that. So Boettcher, I believe, is down to 4 now. Here's a Brainstorm. Well, it's about time. 1 is a Meddling Mage, 2 is a Misty, 3 is a True Name. We're getting interesting again.
Yep.
What those cards are not is a Wasteland. I think that's important.
So if Kale just goes bolt you, untap, bolt you, Jared is dead.
Oh, it's easy to say
Now,
that from here.
Oh, for sure. Now, Kale showed a lot of respect for Spell Piercing Days these last couple turns, so there's no promise he does it, but the Meddling Mage may force his hand.
Let's see what this is. There is a Meddling Mage. It might be time for a response here.
Yeah, I feel like Jared's so likely to name Lightning Bolt here that you just kind of have to cast it at him.
And Kale is going for it. He says, how about 3 to you? Because truthfully, what Boettcher's drawn over these past handful of turns is Force of Wills and other counter spells he's removed to Force of Wills. So you have to imagine, oh, you've removed 2 days in a Spell Pierce? Well,
you're probably pretty low on action.
probably okay. We'll see what Meddling Mage is going to name. He wants to take a look at the graveyard first.
There is 1 Fork Bolt in Kale's sideboard. None in the main deck.
No
and
way
it is
he names
hiding right now under that Sylvan Library.
There's no way he names that card.
We'll find out in a moment.
He does name Lightning Bolt. Makes sense. Thompson, 2, 3. He's looking at a Wasteland, a Delver, and a Forked Bolt. He is going to pay for life.
Better late than never.
I know you wanted it earlier. He's going to Wasteland a Tundra. That's going to go away.
Yeah, that forces Jared to plow in response if he has it.
This is a Forked Bolt. Boettcher is shaking his head.
There
He
it
extends
is.
the hand. Kale Thompson wins this match over Jared Boettcher, and Jerry Thompson is safe for another week.
Yep. Congratulations to Kale. A great weekend, obviously, for Jared. Fell a little bit short here. A great match. And Kale now moving on to the finals.